Hello from Momentum AI. Hope everyone's doing well. It's great to be back with you and Advisors for Advisors. Thank you, Andrew, for keeping this going. But we're going to take it to the next level today. And that's super exciting to me because the potential of AI for small businesses and solo entrepreneurs is just absolutely incredible. Today, we're talking about designing leverage. So, how are we going to use AI to not only get our job done on a daily basis, but now think about how we're going to start to get our job done, everything we got to do in a systematic way. Instead of prompting every day to do your newsletter, how about setting up something to do your newsletter forever? Just that it's going to take, again, we're never going to pull the human out of the equation, but how can we get the process of creating a newsletter as streamlined and automated as possible so that your newsletter now takes you 3 minutes to do, and the time that you've repurposed, you're able to put into meeting with prospective clients, talking to your current clients, those kind of things. This is where the real power happens. This is what I'm doing all day. I've got tools, I've got code. We're not going to get into code. You don't need that, but we're going to talk about building tools. I run my company and I run the Chamber of Commerce. Those are both full-time gigs. There's no way I could do both without creating tools and systems. Now, here's the interesting thing, just to show you how I'm using this. I am done in May with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm going full-time working on my company, which I'm super excited about. The Chamber has been a great gig, but if any of you are involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and you may know people who work for a Chamber of Commerce, it is a 24/7 proposition. So most days I do Chamber of Commerce stuff, and then at 7 o'clock at night, I'm like, okay, now I can work on my company. So I'm excited to be able to get to that. But the chamber needed this help. But what we're doing, we're in the process of finding the person that is going to take over for me. But I am in the process of building tools that I will turn over to that person so that all of the admin stuff will be the click of a button, and that person can be out in the community meeting with members and growing the organization. That's the goal that we've got. That's what we've got built into the strategic plan. Building something for someone else to use is a different kind of animal because you don't know their skill level and you don't know their understanding of AI and the way it's supposed to work. So I'm being very meticulous to build them a set of tools that anybody can jump in and use. So that's something. What's kind of neat about that is by the time we have another session, I believe I should be able to report back to you on how that's gone and how the person's using it. So because again, if you could build tools for somebody else, you could definitely build them for yourself. So we're working on leverage today to build these tools that are going to kind of take some of the day-to-day AI and turn it into automation. So, like I said, we're going to change the conversation here. You already know what AI can do, all right? Because we've talked about it and you've tried it and you've heard about it and you've talked about it with your family and your friends. You already have an idea. My guess is most of you are using it to some degree for copywriting, writing emails and things like that. And that's great. That's a great foundation on which we're going to build today. The discussion today, we're about deciding how do you want AI to work for you? And more importantly, what do you never want to think about again? And what that means is, what do you have on your plate that you have to do that you just want to turn over to AI? When you can answer that question, it's a powerful thing. I did a post on LinkedIn last week, and I basically said, I have a massive, running two organizations, a company and an organization. I have a massive to-do list. Let's see if I can pull the whole thing out. There we go. 4 pages of to-do. This is my to-do list. And this is like not what's even on my online to-do list. I have a 4 page to-do list, and that reiterates every week. But every week, once a week, I sit down, I go through the entire list, and I say, what can AI take off my plate? Now, I'm never looking for AI to take the entire thing off my plate. I'm looking for it to take 30%, 50%, 70% of the work off. When I do those enough times, I start to see the patterns to create a machine to do it. So we've talked about newsletters. I have a tool that I've built for my newsletters. I plug in what I want. Boom, here's my newsletter. I edit, I optimize, and I send. We talked about meeting minutes and things like that I have to do in my world. There's a tool to do it. Meeting minutes, I've taken hours a month off of my plate by building tools to do this. What do you never want to think about again? Meeting minutes to me are the worst thing possible. What a waste of time. They don't move an organization forward. They're part of Robert's Rules of Order and all that. I get it. I get the importance of it. But for someone who's driven like me and trying to always move the needle, to be sitting there doing meeting minutes is just mind numbing. So that was the first thing when I got into it. It's the first thing I'm going to solve. What do I never want to think about again? Doing meeting minutes. So this first tool I built, and I gave it to the chambers of commerce, and they're using it all over the place, which is great. I have the statistics on it. So the question that you're asking is not just can AI do this, right? Because the answer is probably yes, it can do something. Can AI do this? It should be, should I design this once, this task, so I never have to do it again? And that's when you're really taking it to the next level. That's the next, and you think about the history of machinery. You think about farming machines. I'm using a sickle to cut down wheat, or could I build a machine that will cut down all kinds of wheat and I never have to touch the sickle again? All right. Any machine that you think of, this is what it was doing. It was taking something that manually had to happen. I love to think about McDonald's, back in the 60s. Anybody could make a hamburger, but now we can create a machine that makes 12 hamburgers at the same time. And it makes the same 12 hamburgers every single time. This is business to business now. You have enough things in your world that need to be done over and over again. You have this amazing tool of AI. How can you make it do that thing for you over and over again so that you don't have to do it? And again, it adds up. If it's a newsletter, if it's social media, whatever it is, if you're saving a half hour every time you do it, that's a half hour back that you get in your life. The way you think about time in your world, I know it's less hours for you. You're not thinking about things necessarily in terms of hours, like, a B2B consultant, like I'm doing, I'm giving a client 15 hours. I know how much those hours are worth. Once I look at them, once I see how much time I'm saving, I can put a dollar figure on those hours, and all of a sudden I know really what what my return on investment is in AI, which is pretty powerful. So rethink that, and this is what I want your mind frame. Should I design this once so I never have to do it again? So what's new? Interestingly enough, every time we've done this session, I have given you like what's happened in the last 3 months. There hasn't been a lot. People were expecting some big launches during Christmas time, and they just didn't happen. Like nothing new came on. Graphics have improved a little bit. In fact, the graphics, if you're using any, I know again in your regulated world that might be a stretch to use images, but images have gotten super powerful and super good. We're not worried about misspelled words and things anymore. We now they are pretty solid. I'm actually going to look up one real fast for you, but I'm going to open this and pull it over. I did this for the Chamber of Commerce. Here we go. And it is going to open on the screen. Good. So I did this for our Chamber of Commerce for we did the rollout of our lobbying agenda. This cover for our agenda was one try. I mean, to think about, yes, over the past year, that's gotten better and better, but this was one prompt. I got the perfect cover, I printed it, and we rolled it out at the event. I wanted to show you that just because the power of it is getting absolutely incredible. Here's another one we did for our networking breakfast. Again, this was one try. Like I do graphic design, but I could not do this. What I would always mess up on is the perspective of the table. It's incredible. So I say that in the concern you might have about using AI generated images for your own social media and things like that. It's getting really good. It can really do exactly what you want to do. So I think the risk of it doing something off is probably lessening. There's an interesting thing that happens. So ChatGPT, obviously, which we've talked about that I use, when they rolled out ChatGPT 5.2 in August, September, a lot of people are saying that they focus so heavily on math, it lost some of its creative writing pieces and its interaction. I got to be honest with you, I thought it was 10 times better, and I've had a great time with it. Maybe I'm just hanging around people that are too technical on Twitter, but I think it's great. Even Sam Altman from OpenAI just recently he was complaining. He said it was a mistake. They took away from the creative aspect. I have no problems with it. It's working great for me. The instruction following, I think, is much better. And, we talk a lot about, again, shifting from prompts to systems. This, to me, I put this on here as what's new. It's nothing that they did, OpenAI or Grok or any of them did. I just think as we look at taking it to the next level, this is the next thing. I think that a lot of people have topped out. This is why I'm going to give you some AI theory here for a second. Just watching the marketplace, I think a lot of people have topped out. They learned they could write their copy, they learned they could write emails, and they're happy and they're fine. And they're just doing that, and it's working for them. But that's where it stops. And when you look at growing your business, growing your practice, growing your organization, the next iteration is going to be pretty important because once everybody can write press releases and blogs and newsletters with AI, then it becomes that's all it becomes is AI written newsletters and blogs and press releases. It's going to be this next thing about who can advance to the next level by taking that higher level of thinking, which is what I'm going to hopefully inspire you to do as we talk today. So, what it means is stop thinking in tools, start thinking in workflows. And I got to be honest with you, I hate the word workflows. I really do. Every time I try and write something, promotional copy, it always wants to use the word workflows. It's like people don't talk that way. People don't talk about workflows. You talk about processes, you talk about implementation, you talk about things like that. But the word workflow is very techy, but it is what it is. It's, what are you trying to accomplish? And the way to think about it is task, process, system, leverage. So you've got the task, you sit at your computer and you take care of the task. You realize you have a pattern there, so you build a process around that task, which might be collecting data, inputting the data, and writing, editing, and there's your process. Now your system is to set that up so it's the same thing every single time, and that's where you get leverage. That's where you're able to start to build around the things you're doing. I told you I know I mentioned this before, but when I took over the Chamber of Commerce, our office manager immediately announced her resignation. Just making sure I'm still recording here. Our office manager announced her resignation, and our board said, we need to hire somebody for the front desk. And I said, hold on, let's look at everything she's doing and see what we can do. So we did exactly this process. We looked at all the tasks, we looked at the processes that she did it, and then we built systems around that, and we've created leverage. In that case, some of the processes had nothing to do with AI; they were offline. But a lot of the processes that she was doing AI could fill. So when the next person comes in, we're going to have these systems in place so that on the admin side and on the newsletters and all these things, I don't want that person to have to focus on those things. I want that person to be out in the community signing up new members and dealing with the elected officials and things like that, rather than sitting at their desk doing that. And that's what we've been able to build